Chaitanya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining today. We like to seek the blessings of Shri Radha Madhav, Shri Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram, Gaurnitai, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled Vaishnavas, so that we can continue with the overview of Canto 11, chapter number 26 of the Srimad Bhagavatam Purana. So this is a wonderful verse, text number 34 of this chapter.
Shanto dishanti chakshumsi bahirarkaha samutitaha tititaha devata bandhava santa atmaham evacha. Translation: my devotees bestow divine eyes, whereas the sun allows only external sight, and that only when it is risen in the sky. My devotees are one's real worshipable deities and real family. They are one's own self, and ultimately they are non-different from me.
What a powerful statement by the Lord about the glories of his devotees. My devotees are one's real worshipable deities and real family. So we're thinking, oh, yes, these are my children, this is my parents. Actually, the devotees are only real family. Why? Because we're related through them to the Supreme Lord. And the devotees are non-different from him, Krishna is saying. A really phenomenal statement. So let's see the context. This is the chapter is called the Alya Gita, and it explains how unfavorable association is a threat to one's position in devotional service, and how by associating with saintly persons, one can attain the highest platform of devotion. So, one performing bhakti does not live in this world. This Krishna describes to Uddhav how the jiva who has received a human body, which is in itself most conducive towards achieving the Supreme Lord, and who has situated himself in the duties of bhakti, devotional service to the Lord, becomes capable of realizing him, the Lord, who is the very identity of spiritual bliss. Such a person, fully dedicated to the Supreme Lord, is liberated from the influence of Maya, even while continuing to reside in this world created by illusion. He is totally untouched by him. It's a very powerful personality. So Krishna advises to avoid bad association. Those souls, on the other hand, who are bound up by Maya are devoted only to their bellies and genitals. They are impure, and by associating with them, one will fall down into the dark pit of ignorance. The following song was sung by the Emperor Pururava. When deprived of his wife, heavenly lady Urvashi, he was at first bewildered. But by controlling his lamentation, he began to feel detachment. He thus sang a song expressing his contempt for womanly connection. What happens to that person those persons who are attached to the body of a woman, or indeed a man, of course. Now, we've gone through this pastime before, I think, in one of the previous cantos, where King Pururava, he was enchanted by the heavenly damsel Urvashi, and after she left him, he desired to be with her. So he meditated on her, and eventually he achieved her, achieved the planet she was at in the heavens. So when Urvashi was leaving him, even though Pururava was naked, he ran after her just like a madman, and he called out in great distress, "Oh, my wife, oh, terrible lady, please stop." Although for many years Pururava had enjoyed sex pleasure in the evening hours, still he was not satisfied by such insignificant enjoyment. His mind was so attracted to Urvashi that he did not notice how the nights were coming and going. So this is his song called the Aliyah Gita. Alas, just see the extent of my delusion. This goddess was embracing me and my heart was so polluted by lust. I had no idea how my life was passing, not even seeing the rising or setting of the sun. And unfortunately, we are also in this position to some degree or other, because we are seeing day and night going by fast. Time is flying by, but we're not making any effort to understand who we really are and what we're supposed to really do in this world. We're just caught up in the daily life of material existence. Although I am supposed to be a mighty emperor, I became a toy animal in the hands of a woman. Although I was a powerful king, Urvashi gave me up as if I was no more than an insignificant blade of grass. This is amazing. This is when the ego really gets blown apart. I was a great person, yet she just abandoned me. And still naked and without shame, I followed her, crying out to her like a madman. What is the worth of the education, the austerity, the renunciation, reception of the Vedas, solitary living and silence of one whose mind becomes stolen by the body of a woman, right? It's for a man, it's probably the most alluring of the illusory energy of the Lord, the opposite sex. I didn't even know what was good for me, although I arrogantly thought I was highly intelligent. Even after enjoying with Urvashi for many years, my lusty desires were never satisfied. Who but the Supreme Lord can possibly save my consciousness? Even though Urvashi herself gave me wise counsel with well-spoken words, I still failed due to my intelligence to control my senses. How can I blame her for my troubles? What is this polluted body anyway? So filthy and full of bad odors. And we're so proud of our body, but just stop and think sometimes what this body produces. It's crazy stuff. And then he continues, whose body is it anyway? Does it belong to one's parents who has given birth to it? Does it belong to the wife who gives it pleasure? Or does it belong to one's employer who orders the body around, right? Who owns it? Who does it belong to? Is it the property of the funeral fire? That's where we're going to end up. Or is it the property of the dogs and the jackals who will ultimately devour it? Or is it the property of the indwelling soul who partakes in its happiness and distress? Does the body belong to intimate friends who encourage and help it? So all these different questions came to his mind. Although not sure of the proprietor of the body, a man becomes most attached to it, which is simply a mass of skin, meat, blood, soon, and brain tissue, marrow, and bones. Not much different from worms. Yet, even one who theoretically understands the actual nature of the body should never associate with the opposite sex, knowing that senses simply agitate the mind. The mind of a person who restricts the material senses will automatically be checked in its material activities, as it is not disturbed by that which is neither seen nor heard and become pacified. Therefore, one should never let his senses associate freely with the opposite sex. Even those who are highly learned cannot trust the 6 enemies of the mind, headed by lust. What to speak then of foolish people like me? So this is really phenomenal advice, amazing advice. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, having thus chanted this song, Maharaj Purava, eminent amongst the demigods and human beings, gave up the position or he had achieved in the planet of Urvashi. Yeah, so he actually achieved it. But then he realized how foolish I have been. His illusion cleansed away by transcendental knowledge. He understood me, Krishna is saying, to be the Supreme Lord within his heart. And so at last he achieved peace. So then Krishna concludes this chapter, and he includes that verse that we spoke in a minute ago. In conclusion, one who is intelligent should give up bad association and let himself become attracted to the company of saintly persons. By their transcendental instructions, the saintly devotees of the Lord can break the false attachments of one's mind. So we have so many attachments, and it's so easy to develop these attachments. He is mine, they belong to me, this is my family, but it's all based on this material, temporary body. And in that sense, it is illusion. It's Maya to think that this person is related to me in this way. And because of that attachment, it keeps us in this world. And if the Lord is very kind, he will break the attachments by force. And that, although can be very painful, is actually very beneficial because these attachments cannot be so easily be forgotten or removed. Real saints are always liberated and devoted to the Supreme Lord, fixing their minds on the Lord. And not dependent upon anything material. They're always peaceful, endowed with equal vision, and free from possessiveness, false ego, and greed as well. In their association, there is constant discussion about the Supreme Lord, by serving whom the spirit soul completely eradicates his material sins and obtains pure devotional service. One who gains the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, who of course is the original ocean of unlimited perfect qualities, what else remains to be gained? The devotees of the Lord bestow divine eyes. So this is the verse that we read. Are the ultimate shelter for those who are repeatedly rising and falling within the fearful ocean of material life. Such devotees are just like a strong boat that comes to rescue persons who are at the point of drowning. And this is so extraordinary. My devotees are one's real worshipable deities and real family. Now this is obviously a little alien to us because we've been brought up in this world by a certain family, and our attachment or our dependence on them was always there, and hence we feel that they are mine or I belong to them. But this is very dangerous. This thought process is very dangerous because that attachment will keep us in this world because they're not our real family. That attachment is to something material. Whereas if we become attached to the devotees of the Lord, and specifically the spiritual master and the pure advanced devotees of the Lord, then they are our real family. They are what counts because they are connected with the Supreme Lord and we are connected with the Supreme Lord. But at the moment, we're attaching ourselves to temporary relationships. And that is extraordinarily dangerous. But if you're already in a material relationship and it's very difficult to come out of that material relationship, at least externally, what we can do is dovetail that attachment in a way that we treat our family as devotees of the Lord, and we try to associate with them on a spiritual level. So what does that mean in practice? Right? In practice, what does that actually mean? If, for example, we are able to, with the family, read about Krishna, read the Bhagavad Gita, where we put Krishna in the center of that relationship, then that relationship, that material relationship, has the potential to change into a spiritual relationship, which is eternal. Not easy to do because not everybody is going to be on the same wavelength. And we can't force anybody to take on what we believe, of course. So how do we do it in practice? It's a slow process. Internally, we have to be detached, that's for sure. If we are attached, we'll come back. We'll live in this world. We won't go back to the spiritual world. So we have to develop a detachment. And we can only do that when we become attached more and more to the Supreme Lord and his devotees. But then we can also help the family. Because yes, there is some attachment there. Yes, they looked after me. Yes, I had time, spent time with them. Can't just abandon them. No, nobody's saying abandon them. Just try to dovetail that relationship from being a material relation to a spiritual relation. How you do that? There can be many different ways. And there's no prescriptive way which we can say, do it this way. Every situation is different. But we have to dovetail it. And for example, children, you have children, you bring them up in Krishna consciousness. And you hope for the best, because in this world, who knows what can happen? Any association can destroy a person. But you do your best, and then you leave it to the Lord. And in many ways, we actually depend on the Lord to help us break those relationships, actually. Not intentionally, but in a way that either they're dovetailed to the service of the Supreme Lord, or eventually they're cut off. Whatever it is, we trust Krishna that he will do whatever it takes to help us attach to him. So this is really phenomenal advice that Krishna is giving to Uddhav as part of the Alya Gita, which Pururava recited when he realized that his attachment for his wife was so deep that he wanted to follow her to the heavenly planets. And he did. But then he realized, oh my dear Lord, I have got it wrong. I have got it so badly wrong. And then he gave it up. He gave up that. Why? How? Through transcendental knowledge, through Gyan. And Krishna is saying this, that this fellow, yes, he was attached to Urvashi, even reached to the planet of Urvashi, but then he realized through transcendental knowledge that I am the Supreme Soul within his heart. And thus he achieved peace. He achieved the Supreme Lord. Again, another phenomenal chapter really helps us develop this relationship with our Supreme Father, the ultimate Supreme Lord. And in that way, we will slowly but surely make advancement on this boat. This boat is very important. We need to get on this boat. And that boat is is I don't know what they call it, driven, ridden, or whatever, is the devotees, sorry? Sailed. The devotees are in charge. And we're in the boat, and they will help. We are drowning, but they will rescue us. So taking shelter of devotees is very important. Taking shelter of the Bhagavatam is very, very important. And I think we are sort of trying to do that by going through these wonderful chapters. So I wanted to stop there. Any questions, any comments?
Animal.
Hare Krishna. Is that Ram Dulara?
No. Yes, Prabhuji.
Anything you'd like to say?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we can stop there. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.